Longtime Sixer beat writer Tom Moore set to join us right now on the Sports Bash Live 97.3 ESPN. He appears via the Boardwalk Honda hotline. Tom, what's up, man? You were there last night, but it was about 2:30 in the morning when the real news started, huh?
You know, a lot of discussion with Brett Brown pregame about what the Sixers need, and it was his. You know, you knew with Elton Brand, he's not afraid to make a big move. He certainly showed that with the Jimmy Butler, the signing. And obviously, to me, this means, that they're trying to win, now, i.e. the next, 3, 4, 5 years is their window, is the way they view it. They have 4 guys that could be max or close to max salary guys. And I would assume the plan is to re-sign everybody, which you can do. And then, fill in with role players around him.
Last night before the game, Brett had indicated you win in the playoffs with veterans. It was almost like a precursor to what was about to happen, and that he just realized this team is good, but without veterans, we're not going to be able to be a real factor in the playoffs, right?
Yeah, and I think, last year kind of showed you with Ilyasova and Bellinelli, how that the team really kind of played its best down the stretch, and, the upgrade and just the value of experience. And then even last night with no J.J. Redick, Landry Shamet starts, and he's a good offensive bench player, but, he started, he was 2 for 8. He's not quite there yet. It doesn't mean he won't get there, but right now he's not. He's the kind of guy that he's a good regular season player, but you're not sure in the playoffs if you can count on him,
No doubt. I like Shamet too.
Right.
I just don't think in the playoffs you're going to be able to count on him hitting big shots or defending in key moments. On the other hand, Tobias Harris, I look at it as Harris, Shamet's the best player in the deal in that 2021 pick that a lot of people are going to look at, but how much of an upgrade is Harris to what this team needed?
Well, he's a stretch for – basically, he's like offensively, he's a better Ilyasova, I would say. He's 20 this year, 21 points, 8 rebounds, and the big thing is he's 43.4% from 3. So that's what helps Embiid the best, especially when you have Ben Simmons out there. You can surround him with shooters, at least 2 shooters in Redick and Harris, and help to spread the floor. Defense, not known as a great defender. That's not his biggest strength. But to me, the most interesting thing is the draft picks, the unprotected Miami, and then the protected Sixers in 2020, and also you have some high usage guys. Guys are used to having the ball in their hands. And you have 4 guys, that at least 4 that want to have the ball in their hands. So Brett Brown, even with Jimmy Butler, it's been a bit of an adjustment in terms of trying to get him the clear outs and the one-on-ones and those kinds of things that he prefers versus the running the plays and more kind of winging it a little bit and more of an open attack. And now you have Tobias Harris, who's used to having the ball in his hands, and he's a scorer. He's only 26. So Brett Brown's got Elton Brand gave him another weapon, and he's got to figure out a way to make it successful.
Yeah, Tom, and obviously, they get a player who can shoot the 3, but I think the 2 other pieces are kind of underrated just because they seem to be such lower profile. But Scott's a guy that's shot the 3 pretty well, but Boban gives them a legit backup center, which this team was really lacking. And in fact, Embiid last night, he asked to come out of the game last night. It looked like he was sucking air.
He did, yeah. He what happened was, he played, like the first 7-8 minutes of the third quarter, and then Brown took him out, and then it all went to hell in a handbasket. And the next thing you know, the Sixers are down 12, and he had to hurry him back in late in the third quarter. So he actually asked to come out in the fourth quarter with maybe about 3 minutes to go. And fortunately for Brett Brown, Nick Nurse from the Raptors called timeout. So they had like a 3-minute break. Now, he still was gassed and still probably could have used a little bit of a break, but Brown only had one timeout left. So that's what he did. But you could see, really most of the fourth quarter, he was really, I think he played 41 plus minutes or almost 42, which is more than, Brett Brown wants. And heavily in the second half, I think he played 21 plus in the second half.
Yeah, so obviously they get these three guys. The big thing, it's a little Russian roulette here, Tom, where Butler's a free agent, Tobias Harris is a free agent, and so is Redick. So, they could have three guys walk out on them here. So what's the message with this deal?
Well, the plan would seem to be that you can re-sign your own guys. And I asked Josh Harris this a few years ago. He said he's willing to pay luxury tax if he has a chance to win a championship. So, if you think that, Harris and Butler are max guys or close to it, you re-sign both of them in July. You can, you see what Redick, wants, what he's willing to come back for, if you can, or you try to make another move or sign and trade with him to somebody where you can get something back. I think they're still going to go after a wing, if not now, in the buyout market. I could see, them making a strong push for Wesley Matthews, with the Knicks, who's 32 years old, he defends, shoots, is a quality player. And, he doesn't fit in New York. They're not going to win. And the Sixers have the mid-level exception, and they have Dario Saric's $2.6 million contract as an exception, the value of that. So they could sweeten the pot if let's say them and Houston are pushing for Matthews, they get veteran help on the wing. And now I think you have a guy with that second unit who can really score, and that wing defender that you want too. Because you're right, Scott will essentially be the backup four. He's going to share the job probably with Harris. And Boban is 7'3". He's an interior factor defensively, and the Sixers really didn't have that. Muscala was a decent, weak side shot blocker, but not not an on-the-ball kind of impede you keep you from going down the lane. Embiid would leave the games, and it was like right down Broadway, dunks and layups. So you hope, and all these guys, everybody in this trade except for Shaman is in the last year of a contract.
Yeah, a lot of space cleared out for the Clippers. I see their side of the deal here. They're just saying, let's kind of hit the reset here. Let's get something for Harris. Good move from them. By the way, Malachi Richardson just traded. The Sixers just acquired Toronto's 2022 second-round pick. So the Sixers, because my follow-up question was going to be, they got no guards to play Friday night, Tom. I mean, T.J. McConnell's the only guard they got off the bench. My question was really going to be, is the message that either Fultz or Smith are somewhere close to get ready to play to be able to go in with no guards on Friday night?
Well, I mean, you have Korkmaz too. You have Simmons as the point guard, and assuming Redick can play. Well, yeah, I mean, everybody has to pass their physical for one of them to play. So it's, not quite 72 hours, but you think and you hope that they'll all be ready and they can play, which is possible. But, different guys have to go to different places and get their stuff. And, it does usually take a little bit of time. So, in a one-game situation, you can get by with, they said, Korkmaz and McConnell kind of as your backups, for one game. And Butler's been playing backup point guard, starts at the 3 technically. So you can kind of mix and match for a game. Now, you don't want to do something like that for any extended period of time.
Do you think that Fultz and or Smith are getting close?
Brown was asked about Fultz pregame last night, and he said he was asked if he's counting on Fultz for the playoffs, and he said he's really not sure. He doesn't know. He's not. He's hoping. He said things have been progressing. In a I think his term was a rather slow pace or a slow type pace. So he's apparently not doing. I don't even know that he's doing on-court drills yet, let alone getting his conditioning where it needs to be. So I don't know with him. And Smith, it's a little early for a rookie who's playing a new position. I just think to throw him, I mean, he could get some garbage time minutes maybe later in the season, but I just don't know that he's going to be ready to be, really contributing to a playoff drive with meaningful minutes, being so young and a new position and so on. I said before, I thought this was kind of a redshirt year for him, even if he were healthy, and the fact that the foot injury and the and the infection have just kind of slowed things down even more.
For you, Tom, does this elevate the Sixers to any different status in the East?
Well, I think you saw again last night that, the Sixers, really aren't ready to beat the Raptors. They lost all 3 games that Kawhi Leonard, that the Raptors were close to full strength. They lost all 3 of them, and really none of them were competitive. And the Celtics they haven't beat. Now, Celtics are coming in Tuesday, see about that. But, those 2 teams, you're going to have to beat one of them. If you win a round, the odds are you're probably going to get one of them in the second round. And I think last night might have confirmed the fact of what they need, the lack of depth, the lack of experience off the bench and in, some key spots. I think this increases the expectations. I think, that you can argue that they should be, they have as much talent as any team in the Eastern Conference. But as Brett Brown was talking about before the game, when you make trades with talent, a lot of it is chemistry. How do they fit? How does it work? How do they get along? How do they, share? I mean, Butler, his reputation is being demanding and so on, but on the court, he tends to be a pretty unselfish guy. And Brown has had to, and the coaches have had to kind of get on him about passing up too many shots, about deferring too much. That's good in that respect. But Harris is going to want the ball, and Embiid's going to want the ball. Redick wants touches coming off screens and shooting those threes and so on. So it's an interesting situation. And yes, if I'm a Sixers fan, I'm thinking, that maybe it's conference finals or bust this year at least. Given the talent and given what they've expended, and then Sixers have to hope it works out and all the guys re-sign, or they're able to make a sign and trade or something to acquire other assets, because they're pretty much capped now. If they re-sign these guys, there's not really room to go out and get anybody else other than a minimum contract or an exception.
Tom, the deadline's tomorrow, so any clues to think that something else is coming between now and 3:00 tomorrow?
I mean, I think they'll look and see. I think. I don't know. I think it's more likely that they'll do something else in the buyout market. I just think that is more likely because I think you might be able to get a better player there. With the trades and so on. You have to match salaries and things like that, and it limits what you can do. And who do they really have to trade at this point, unless it's Korkmaz or Amir Johnson, a minimum guy? So I'm not sure.
Well, there's always Markelle, man. There's always Markelle.
Well, I mean, that's something they could potentially visit. They could certainly choose to go in that direction if they want to end it. Now, Mirotic, you would think the need for him is kind of gone because he's a stretch 4, and you got your stretch 4. So you could have done something like that, Fultz for Mirotic with the Pelicans.
Yeah.
But now I don't know that you necessarily want to do that. He's an expiring contract, but I don't know if you need another guy like that on your roster. You got the backup center. Wing, you could use some help as a wing, and maybe a backup point guard. So I guess that's what you're looking for.
Well, maybe Markelle can help in that angle. We'll see. I mean, I almost envision, Tom, that they use him similar to the way they did last year, like give him the last 15 games to figure out if he has a role or not.
Yeah, I mean, I think he could help him as a backup point guard with his size, and even if he's not shooting, but he's got to get to that point, and the confidence-wise and so on. With his size, he's a better defensive matchup than, say, T.J. McConnell with some of these bigger, stronger, more physical guys.
Tom Moore, sports columnist, Bucks County Courier at Tom Moore Philly. He was kind enough to join us here on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline. Thank you, Tom.
Sure. See you later, Mike.